right, welcome to the OneSignal platform overview. My name is John. I head our support team here at OneSignal, and today we're going to dive into the OneSignal platform and all of its features. So the first thing that you do once you log in is you'll be greeted with a page of all your apps. And so an app in OneSignal is the housing for your mobile apps, Android, iOS, web, even if you use email and SMS. You can have multiple apps within your account, and each app is associated with an organization. The organization is really what handles billing. It's what handles your user access. And so you can have as many apps associated with as many orgs as you want, but the org is really in charge of how many apps and how many of those apps users are counted towards your billing. So right here, I have two organizations. This org has a total amount of users. These are all the users associated with this many apps. I can click this actions button here to rename the org or view the org, or just click it. And then once I get into the org, I can see all my apps along with handling my user roles. So the roles are basically who's in charge of what options within each app. And you can update who has access to each app within the roles menu here. And then we have our billing page, which is the billing for this organization. Within the roles page, I just want to highlight a couple important things. One is you can require two-factor authentication for all your users. So basically, if you're an org admin and you want to make sure every single person that has access to your OneSignal account turns on two-factor authentication, just click this enable button here and everybody will be required to log in with two-factor authentication. Otherwise, individual users can decide to turn on or off at the user level up here under accounts and API keys. It's in there. Also, you can set up user roles within the organization. So basically actions, I can go to update user role or remove this person from my account. The benefit of doing that is you can now change what access they have to your account. So if you want them to have full access, that's the admin user role, or if you just want them to have view access, that's the viewer user role. Viewer user role can't do certain things like view certain pages, like your API keys. They can't send notifications or any type of messages, and they can't delete users or delete anything like that. Okay, so let's go back into apps and let's dig into the apps here. So once you click into your app, you're going to see the dashboard page. This is the overview of sort of the stats of your account. So outcomes. Outcomes pertain to different events that occur within your app or within your website when users click on notifications. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into outcomes later, but the basic outcomes are clicks and sessions. Clicks meaning how many notifications were clicked, and sessions meaning how many new sessions were created when the user clicks a notification and opens the app. One nice thing is that we do track direct, meaning the user clicked the notification, which directly caused that outcome, or influenced, meaning the user received the notification. They didn't click it, but they still went to your app or website and performed that outcome. And then unattributed just means they performed that outcome without receiving or clicking a notification. We'll get into that a little bit more later. Subscriber trends. So subscribers are how many devices have opted in to receive messages, push, email, and SMS. So these are all the devices that have opted in to receive messages. Monthly active users is an estimate of how many devices have used your app in the last month based on your total users, which are basically subscribed and unsubscribed devices. You can see your total user trends over time, and then your revoked count. This is how many devices were subscribed to push at some point, but then they unsubscribed, and that was detected through our SDK. So this wouldn't be uninstalls. This wouldn't be devices that unsubscribed and never opened your app again. These are specifically devices that were subscribed at some point to notifications, and then they unsubscribed but still use your app or your website. Let's actually dig in a little bit deeper to the user data. So under audiences and then all users, every single device record, all the user information is stored under audience all users. So here we got the channel. So currently we track things by the channel. So email, SMS, or push. Push is also associated with in-app messaging. If they're subscribed or not subscribed, the last active time, so the last time they used the app or website, the first session, this is the first time they subscribed to your website or opened your mobile app with the OneSignal SDK. This is the device, how many sessions, so how many times they've returned to the app or website. Your app version, this is detected through our SDK based on the version of your app set through your IDE. The country is based off the IP address the user accessed the app from. The version of the OneSignal SDK, if the device is rooted or not. We do track location points, and we only track this if you track it yourself. So with all mobile apps, so it's only on mobile as well. On mobile apps, if you are prompting the user for location and the user says yes, the OneSignal SDK will pull in those location points as that data is tracked. If you don't want to send OneSignal location points, you don't have to. You can turn that off through our SDK. Also, we do not track this automatically. So if you're not prompting for location, we will not track it, as you can see here. Usage duration, this is the total amount of time the user has been inside the app. The language code, this is the actual language the device is set to. The player ID, this is the OneSignal UUID to basically define this record in OneSignal. You can use this player ID to send notifications directly to users or to update users by our server-side API. Phone number, this is only if you create or if you send OneSignal the SMS number. We don't track this automatically. This is something you set within our SDK using our SDK methods, or if you're on web, we have a web prompt to ask the user for their phone number. And this is if you want to use our SMS product. External user ID. External user ID is a way to communicate data between a third party database, CRM, DMP, whatever it is you're using outside of OneSignal as like another source of truth. You can actually send OneSignal that user ID and store it here. So for example, these two device records in OneSignal, they have two different OneSignal player IDs because they're two different records, but it's the same user. So that user is tied together. These two device records are tied together. This is an email record and an iOS device push record. They're tied together through the external user ID. So if you wanted to send notifications targeting this external user ID, it will send to both records or as many records as are tied to this. If you want to update tags via our server-side API, you can do that as well. And all device records with this user ID will be updated. Segments, we'll get into that a little bit later. Data tags. OneSignal doesn't really track anything outside of the data that we're showing. So any kind of custom data you want to send OneSignal, that will be in the form of data tags. So they're key value pieces of information. And depending on your account level, you can have up to 1,000 data tags per device. And so what data tags allow you to do are basically two things. One is you can create segments with data tags. And two is you can actually use tag substitution within your messages. So for example, if you wanted to send a notification or send an email or send an SMS or an in-app message, and you want to include the user's name or their favorite color or their dog's name, whatever it is that you want to include, maybe their account level status, you can do anything like that using data tags. So for example, I would just include like F name for first name. And then when I include that into the notification or the message, it will then replace whatever the key is with the value. And we'll go over that in a little bit later as well. The important thing about data tags is these are key value pieces of string data. So when you send them to us, you'll send them to us as strings. But if you set the value as like an integer, or if you use a number or use like a Unix timestamp, that also will be tracked in our database, where you can then create really cool segments, which we'll go over in just a minute, using tags with number values. Couple more things to highlight. Email, very similar to SMS. The email will only get sent to OneSignal if you send it to OneSignal. So if you don't use our set email method, or if you don't use our prompt, then the email will basically not be set until you use that method. So the email address is not, again, it's not collected automatically. It is a piece of information that you send to us, and then a record is created for that device. And same thing with push token. So the push token here, this is basically the value that is created to make sure that the device can receive push notifications when you do authentication through the APNS or FCM servers. Cool. Since we're on this page, you can actually download all your user data by clicking this little download button. Every single column that you see shown will then be exported and sent to you in an email. You can also update users with a CSV. So if you wanted to upload a CSV of external user IDs or player IDs, you can actually add data tags using a CSV. You can import phone numbers. So if you have a list of phone numbers and you want to import those, you can do that as well. And then emails. If you have a list of emails, you can tie an external user ID and some tags to them, and you can upload that data all right here within the OneSignal dashboard. One more thing to highlight is that you can actually manually add emails, phone numbers, and then you can also delete users. So once we start creating segments, if you want to create a segment and select that segment and you want to delete those users, you can also do that from here as well once you select the segment. You can also delete individual users here. So you can go to your options button and delete users. And then you can also add devices as test users. And test users is really great because you can actually send notifications or emails or in-app messages to your test users to make sure that they look the way you want them to look before you send. So with that being said, let's take a look at segments real quick. So segments are a way to use all that data we just went over to create groups of users for sending messages to. And so a segment is based off of and or operators and then combining different filters. So for example, if I wanted to target all my users that first subscribe to my website or first open my mobile app within the past 24 hours, I could do that. Or maybe I want to do it greater than 24 hours and first session is less than 48 hours. So basically, as soon as the user downloads it or opens the app and subscribes to push notifications on my website, they will then be automatically added into this segment after 24 hours have passed. But then once 48 hours have passed, they will not be in this segment anymore. And you can continue this. So if I wanted to then say and user tag, and I can say I have a user tag called cart update. So whenever maybe somebody is on my website and I want to track whenever they make a purchase, I can use this cart update tag. And I can say this is a certain value. I could say is not a certain value. I could say just if the tag exists or does not exist. Since I'm tagging the user with a Unix timestamp, I could say, if it's greater than a certain amount of time. So greater than, whatever. Maybe if I have a game and I'm tracking all my users that have greater than level 30, I can say, level is 30 or level greater than or less than 30. Or how much money they spent. So if I'm tracking how much, dollars, I could say, dollars is greater than or less than 100 or 500 or whatever. But what's really nice is the time elapsed greater than or less than. I really like this. So what this allows you to do is that, let's say a user adds an item to their cart, or let's say a user is going through some kind of flow in your app or website, and they didn't complete the flow, right? And so maybe there's like a 6-step process, and maybe on step 3, they stopped. Well, you could tag the user with step 3, right? Or just, setup step or whatever you want to tag them with to identify the event. And then the value is the Unix timestamp. You can now say how long it's been since that event. So this is in seconds. So, we like to do a little bit of math here. If you wanted to target a user 24 hours, for example, after they did an event, you can basically tag them with, that Unix timestamp, create a segment for that event. Time elapse is greater than, 86,400 seconds. So 24 hours. As soon as, this hits, this device will be added into the segment. You can now target them with notifications, emails, SMS, in-app messaging. And you can do that in an automated fashion, or you can do that through our dashboard, which I'm going to show you next here. Okay, so these are your segments. You can see here we provide you some default ones. You can actually set your default segment. So maybe if you don't want to target all users, I can change maybe my abandoned cart. I can set this as the default. I can duplicate. I can just view those users. It'll open the all users page, and I can just edit the segment here as well. So just another example real quick. These are devices that have that cart update tag, and it exists. The last time they were on my website was greater than an hour ago. And then I add this other user tag here. So it's just a way to kind of show, two different options for basically, kind of the same thing here. Okay. Now let's talk about messages real quick. So in your messages tab, this is where you create your push, your in-app, your SMS, your emails, A/B tests, templates, which are a way to create basically like reusable messages, and then automated messages. So we'll get onto all that in just a minute. The first thing let's talk about is push. So let's go here, go to new push. The nice thing about push notifications is that these will go to all your devices that are subscribed to push notifications, regardless if they have your app open or if they're on your website or not. The beauty of push notifications is that it's a messaging platform that gets some kind of message that you create sent to your device when they're not actually on your website or when they're not actually on inside your mobile app. And so I just want to make that clear that that's what push notifications are. Now, when you create notifications, you first target your audience. So who's eligible to get these notifications? My default segment is all users. I showed you earlier how you can change that to whatever default segment you want. But then you can actually target multiple segments. So if I want to send to, maybe I don't want to send to all users, I want to send to my, this segment, and I want to send to, this segment. Well, any devices that are inside both segments will get the notification here. Okay, so it's not an and, it's an or relationship. So basically, all devices in here and all devices in here will get the notification. Now, if the same device was in both segments, it'll be deduplicated, so they only get one notification. But just keep in mind that all users in both segments will get the notification. And if I don't want that, maybe I don't want users that are 7-day new to get this. Well, I can exclude those users as well. So any users inside this segment and these segments will not get the notification. Okay. Here I create the message. So this is what I want to send to the user. So like best push in the biz. I can also add my emojis here. You're not limited to these emojis. You can add, you can copy paste emojis from like Emojipedia or any website that you like with emojis. And then your title is the top part of the notification, and then your message is kind of like the major part. So this is a push that you get when you are not on the website or within the mobile app. And then I just, with the cool sunglasses. Okay, cool. So you can add a subtitle. This is for iOS mobile apps. You can add an image, so you can upload an image. You can use an image URL. What's really cool about the images, though, is that we host this for you, so you don't have to worry about like bandwidth or anything like that. As long as you upload it. And then launch URL. This is where if it's like you want to send the user to any URL you want. Once they click that notification, it will open up this URL. If maybe you have a mobile app and a website and you want to use a different URL for web versus mobile, you can set your web URL and then maybe set like like my app or whatever for any type of custom URL that you use maybe within your mobile app. What's nice about this is you can also add different languages. So OneSignal supports a wide array of languages. You can select as many or as few as you want. And then these languages will basically you'll have to provide your own translation. But if my devices are if my user's device is in these languages, it will show whatever message is set here. Otherwise, it just defaults to this any/English. So maybe if all my users are speaking Spanish and I don't want to send English, well, then you can just put your Spanish message here, and then all your devices will get whatever's set here. But if you support a wide array of users all across the world, you can actually set as many languages as you want. You'll just have to provide the translation for those messages. We also provide A/B testing. So when you click that, you can add up to 10 variants, and within these variants, you'll just put the different messages you want to use in here. So you can do that. Send to test device. So if I want to send to my test users, I can see how they look. When I send that notification, I can click it. It's like, oh, you know what? I actually don't, this isn't correct. This should be lowercase, right? So, it's just a way to double check your work. And then the preview here, this is just like a quick way to kind of get an idea for how they look across the different browsers and operating systems and things like that. Okay, cool. Next is platform settings. I'm not going to get too much into this, but basically, if a platform supports a certain feature, then OneSignal supports it. So if you wanted to add like custom media for iOS versus Android versus web, you can do that. If you want to set badges are the little red colored icons with a number that hang out on top of your app just to help engage users or tell them that they have maybe you want to tell them that they have like 10 new messages that they should check out within the app or something like that. You use set to or increase by. Sound, if you want to use a custom sound, you can do that. If you want to use data notifications or background notifications, you can do that as well. Categories, iOS supports categories, and then target content ID if you're using app clips. Android, very similar concepts, all the same stuff and a little bit more. We also support Android categories, so you can set your category. You can actually create the category within OneSignal and set that here as well. I'll show you where that is later. All your web items, and then advanced settings. So advanced settings has a couple cool features I just want to highlight real quick. Collapse ID, this is a way to make sure your notifications don't bombard users. So if you're sending maybe 3 or 4 or 10 notifications a day, and you don't want your users to maybe necessarily see them all, you can actually add a collapse ID. So maybe if there's some kind of like breaking news going out and you're sending a notification with a collapse ID of breaking news, well, maybe 10 minutes later or 5 minutes, sometime later that news updates and you want to send another notification. Well, if you use the same breaking news ID, then the second notification will basically replace the first notification if it's still on the device. Similar with web push topic, it's actually the opposite. So on web push, notifications are already collapsed. By adding a topic, it will make them actually staggered out. So you can see multiple web push notifications kind of stacked on top of each other. Priority, this is just if you want to send a notification with a higher normal priority based on the device's battery settings. If they have low battery and you send a high notification, well, they'll get the notification in that case and might lower their battery a little bit more. Time to live. This is how long the notification will live on the Google and Apple servers if they are not online. So you send a notification. If my device has no internet connection or is not online, I will not actually get the notification, but the Google or Apple servers will hold the notification for this amount of time until the device comes online. If they don't come online within 3 days, then it just gets discarded and the user will not get the notification. If you wanted to set that to like 3 hours, 3 minutes, 3 seconds, you can do that as well. The most is, I believe, 28 days is the highest you can go. Additional data, this is just a custom data you want to include in the notification. It's not anything shown to the user, but it's data that you can parse within our SDK. So basically, if you wanted to add some kind of custom identifier or some kind of analytics, or basically, tell the app to do some kind of maybe like deep linking or something like that, you can detect the additional data within the mobile or web SDKs and do some kind of custom event with it. iOS, Android action buttons. These are the little buttons that show up on the notifications. When the user views them, they can click an action button and go to a different page of your app or do some kind of custom action when they click them. And same with web. Delivery settings. You can schedule a notification. You can send the notification immediately or schedule it up to 30 days in advance. Can't send it in the past. So set it up to 30 days in the past. I mean, sorry, 30. You can schedule it up to 30 days in the future. Per user optimizations. So this is a way to basically, I can send to everybody like right now at 9:03 a.m. I think this is tomorrow. And then Intelligent delivery, this is a way to basically send a notification to your users when each individual user is most likely active and online. The way I like to explain this is that if I'm usually on your app or on your website at 3 o'clock, sometimes I use it around 7, but usually around 3, then we'll send a notification around 3. We also have time zone notifications. So if you're having users all around the world and you want to send it at 6 p.m. in each user's time zone, you can select that. You see they're grayed out right now. That's because I actually have throttling set up. So throttling is a way to make sure that your notifications are staggered. Meaning, when you send a notification, if you're sending, a million notifications and you're worried that your servers might get taken down by everybody accessing your app at once, well, you can stagger them. I can now say, like, instead of sending all million notifications all at once, stagger them for, only send 1,000 per minute. So every minute we'll send 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 or 15,000, whatever you want to do. If you set that to 0, if you don't want to use throttling, if you have it turned on, this is not enabled by default. I have it turned on in my settings, which I'll show in just a second. You can then select these options by setting it to 0. And then we also have frequency capping. So this is to make sure, hey, I don't want to send more than 5 notifications a week or, 3 notifications a day, something like that. But this one's really, really important. So I don't really want to use that frequency capping. I want to override that. Well, just select that. And then no matter what, if you have that selected, and if the user's already gotten 5 this week, they'll still get this one. Okay. This can now be saved as a draft. I can come back in here and view it again and make sure I update it later, or I can just review and schedule it. Here's just a confirmation page. Okay, looks good. You can make changes or schedule the message. And then here, it'll take me to the report of the stats. So this is actually scheduled for the future. This has not been sent yet. So let me go into one that's been sent. So back in my delivery page. Since we're here, I just want to show how you can sort of sort the delivery page. I can do all messages, dashboard, API, automated, or my test. I'm going to just look at my dashboard messages. I want to sort, out by all, not particular device. I can do advanced. So if I wanted to search by some kind of text, by the start date or end date, I can do all that. I can also export this data. So as whatever data that I'm seeing here, I can go ahead and export that just to see how it looks. When you're looking at the notification, you can see kind of high level overview, like who created it. You can hover your mouse over it and see which email sent it. So if I want to click here, I can see that this, this is our demo account, so not tons of clicks, but you can see how many was delivered. Delivered is how many were sent to the Google and Apple servers. How many were clicked, so far 0. Influenced again is how many devices received the notification. They didn't click it, but they still went to your app or website within a specific time frame that you can set. Total sent, so how many devices were targeted in that notification. Delivered, how many of those devices actually got were allowed to get the notification. Basically, of the 48, Google or Apple said, hey, one of those devices is actually not set or not subscribed. So it tells us, and then we automatically mark it as unsubscribed in our system. Capped, so of these devices, one has already gotten a notification too many times, so they didn't get it. And then confirmed is how many of the devices actually reported back that they did receive the notification. So confirmed here, this is actually the number of devices that have received the push notification. So the device was, not offline or had, internet connection or whatever. So far has confirmed receiving the notification. Breakdown by platform, just an overview of what was sent. And then that's the push stats. A couple other items here is you can duplicate this message if you want to, resend it again. And then you can also use retargeting. Retargeting is the ability to basically target devices that were sent this notification already based on the outcome. So if they clicked the message, so far nobody clicked it, so I don't have to send it to nobody. But so far 0 people clicked it. If I wanted to target users that clicked the message previously, I could click that. Did not click it, so maybe this was something important, and I want those users to click it or acknowledge clicking it, so I can send them a different message, but target these users. Confirmed. So these are the devices that that have confirmed receiving it. So I want to send them a notification because I know they got the previous one. So this is a follow up to that. did not confirm. So these devices did not get it. Maybe I want to send them again, just to make sure, hey, you didn't get this. Let's double check that you got it. And then just all 47 devices that were sent the message here. So that's what retargeting is. I can click that. It takes me back into the notification creation page where I create a new notification, but I'm targeting those devices that I selected. Cool. Let's go into in-app real quick. So in-app messages are the ability to create basically interstitial pop-ups that come up while the user is inside of your mobile app. So this is different from push, where push does not require you to be inside the app, where in-app message requires the user to be inside the app. And so the way that works is I'm going to just look at this one. So similar to a push, I define my audience. So these are the devices that are eligible to get the in-app message. I can now create my message type. So if I want this to be a drop down from the top, a pop up from the bottom, a center modal, or a full screen modal. The cool thing about the full screen is you can now add carousel cards. So basically, by adding carousels, I can now have the user scroll through, and then they can, see different pages of the in-app message, different cards, so to say. Now, each card has 3 different blocks on it. You can use text block, which you can add color, size, alignment, image block, so I can put a URL to an image, and then a button block. So a button block will just be a button. You can change the background, the alignment, the size, the colors. Now, within the image and the button block, I can add click actions. So if I want the user to click this and perform an event, I can, send them to a specific URL. I can prompt them for push. So on iOS, it's required to prompt the user for push so they can get, regular push notifications. So you can use this prompt to ask them, hey, do you want notifications? You can also prompt them for location. So if you want to ask the user for location tracking, you can use that. Send an outcome. So you can actually track if the user clicked a button or not. This is purely for analytics purposes. And you can also add a data tag. So if you want it to basically track that the user clicked this image, I can say, taco, and I can say true. So maybe I want to track, they like tacos. So it's actually better for this button here. So maybe I think that the tacos are awesome. I want to add a tag, and I could say taco, is good. Or if they click this one, I can say add tag, user tag, taco is bad. And now if I wanted to, I can say, okay, well, these users like tacos. Let's send them notifications based on tacos. Or let's ask them for more, maybe more information about which kind of tacos they like. Or if I wanted to give them deals on tacos, I can now create a segment that we saw earlier using that user tag, targeting all my users that think tacos are good. Or on the flip side, I can target my users that think tacos are bad and ask them, hey, why do you think tacos are bad? Tacos are amazing. What's wrong with you? Right? You can do that kind of stuff. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. Now you can also ask them maybe like why, provide more information, like, what is wrong with our, like, so this is like, you don't have to be tacos, obviously. It could be like your app. Like you want to ask the person, do you want to rate our app? And they say, no, I don't want to rate your app. And then they say, how's your experience with the app? And they're saying, I'm not having a great experience. Well, now I can maybe send them an email or send them an SMS saying, hey, would you mind filling out this form? Or you want to talk to somebody from our product team to ask, why you're not having a good experience? And we can try to make that better. So these are all different things that you can do, as the user's scrolling through. Maybe this is like a get to know the app kind of thing, or just kind of survey in-app message. By default, these don't get dismissed automatically, but if you want to, you can dismiss the in-app message when the user clicks a button or clicks an image. You just, show this advanced settings, and you can just select this. So if the user clicks this image now, it'll tag the user and then dismiss the in-app message, or just, uncheck that so they don't dismiss it. Triggers. So unlike push notifications, the in-app message only pops up while the user is in the mobile app. So if you wanted to trigger this at a specific time, you can. So basically, if you want to trigger it immediately when the user opens the app, you can. If you want to trigger it using after a certain amount of time, you can. So once the user opens the app, after 10 seconds or 100 seconds or whatever passes, I can now have this pop up to the user regardless of what they're doing. But if you really want to trigger it, if you don't have full control over when this triggers, you can select the in-app trigger. And this will basically be some kind of key and value that you set. And then when the user is inside the app and then you use our SDK method called add trigger, I can now, trigger this, say tutorial is 1 or tutorial, maybe I have multiple tutorials and I want to do tutorial number 1 or tutorial number, 3 or whatever. You can trigger that using these in-app triggers. Okay. Cool. And then let's say maybe you have another in-app message. So I can also combine this with duration since last in-app message. So I'll say, okay, I trigger this, but if I already saw an in-app message, within the last, 30 seconds, then don't show this one. So I don't want to show more. Sorry, it's greater than. So I don't want to show this if 30 seconds have passed since the last in-app message. Okay. Scheduling. So you can schedule these in-app messages for, sometime in the future. Maybe this is a deal I have going on next month. I can start showing it next month. I can also stop showing it the month after that. So maybe I want this to stop showing in October. Maybe October 1st is like the deadline that I want this to stop. Well, on October 1st at 12 a.m., this will stop showing. You can also click this advanced settings down here, and this will you can actually set how long you want this to be shown. So basically you want this to show to the user until the user swipes it away or dismisses it themselves. You can do that. Or if you just want to be like, you know what, after 60 seconds, if the user hasn't done anything, or after 600 seconds, if the user hasn't done anything, let's just dismiss this automatically. You can do that. And then the retargeting options. So by default, the in-app message will actually be set to only once. So it'll only show one time and never again. But if you want to show it multiple times, you can select the every time trigger conditions are satisfied. And then whenever these triggers are hit, it will show this in-app message. Also, you have multiple times. So this is actually, you can actually set how many total times you want this to show with a gap. So if I want this to show a total of 3 times, so if the user doesn't do anything after 3 times, then don't show this again. But I also don't want it to show if it's been only a day. So I show it once, and then let's say they hit the trigger again, but it's been less than a day. I don't want to show it again, right? Maybe, I want to show it every, 7 days, or every, I guess you could just every week, or every, hour. You can do that. So this is basically just saying that, hey, I only want this to show a total amount of 3 times or, 300 times. But I want to make sure there's a gap of 7 days in between each time it shows. And that's what that is. I click update message and everything here gets saved. That's in-app messaging. The SMS, SMS is for, actual like SMS text, that goes to the device. Similar fashion, not too much to show off here. You just select your audience, so who's eligible to get it. You select whose it's coming from, so the phone number or the short code or the toll-free number that you add, and then your message. And then your media, so you can add, images as well to your text messages. You can send yourself a test just to see how it is, and then you can schedule it for immediately, or you can schedule it for a specific time. Want to highlight email real quick. So back in messages, if I drop this down, I can go to email. Email is, very similar. So like your segments, I target who's eligible for this email. So my audiences, I can add multiple segments. I can exclude segments. I can add my email subject here. So this is my, community, update number, 34. My from name, my from email. And then we have this nice email editor where you can actually, drag and drop your elements into the, into a template. I have one already. I'll just use this one. I guess I have my better templates on a different app. Sorry about that. So I'll just use this one. I chose this one because I wanted to highlight real quick the tag substitution, which I forgot to show. So within emails, within SMS, within in-app, within push, you can actually do that tag substitution I alluded to earlier. using what's these liquid syntax. So it's these double curly brackets. And so when I send this email to the person, it's going to say I'm a new title block, and then it's going to have the first name of the person. So if they have that first name as a data tag, whatever the value is, it will show up to the user. If they don't have the first name tag, then this will just be blank. It won't show anything. There won't be any squiggly brackets or anything like that. It'll just be a blank. It'll just say I'm a new title block. So another example here, hi, first name, and then you can set a default. So this is basic liquid syntax where you can set, you could actually do a lot with it, but the most common things are you just set, the tag key, and then if they don't have that tag key, it'll just be blank, or you can set a default. So if I don't have the first name tag key, it'll just say hi. If I do have the, if I add a default, it'll say hi, buddy. And if it has my first name, it'll say hi, John. So that's how it would be set up. Cool. And so, yeah, just like emails, should have had a better, I haven't tested any of these other examples. Let's see if these look good. But yeah, you can add your images, you can add emojis, you can add videos, and then you have this nice little editor where you can drag and drop things and move them around. Okay, and then you can schedule them for immediate or send them in the future. You can set a test message and then confirm message and it will send. Okay. Automated messages, I want to highlight that real quick. Automated messages are a way that when a user enters into a segment that you create a template, and then it'll actually just automatically send that template to the user as they join that segment. And so you can create automated messages for email or for push. So it's really simple to do. Let's say I want to target all my users in my abandoned cart segment. So I have my, or maybe like my rate app segment. So as soon as I prompt the user on my in-app message, do you want to rate the app? And they say yes or no. Maybe I want to send them a follow-up. And so this is my rate app segment. And then I have my template. So I have my template here. I'm sure I have like an app rating template. Well, anyways, let's just say this is the app rate template. And you can see here's that tag substitution. So come back to, and then you can put your company's name or whatever the tag is. And then the delivery options. So the way that in-app messaging works is that when the user gets added to that segment, we're going to automatically send them this template, and this can be done immediately, or it can be done with our intelligent delivery. So they get added to the segment, and then we're going to send this in-app message to them. I'm sorry, this automated message to them at the time that they're most likely, going to be online to get your message. And then you can also use time zone delivery. So as a user joins this segment, I want to send this to them at 9:21 a.m. in their local time zone. And then by default, the in-app message will never show more than once. So in this case, I want them to see it again. So if the user returns to the app, I'm going to send this to them again, but this will only trigger if the user is still in the segment, right? So if they leave the segment, well, they will not get this again if they return to the app, but if they get added back into that segment, then they'll get this message again. Same with time zone. Basically, as long as they're still in this segment here, I can now send this to them, again, every, 24 hours or every 24 days or 24 weeks. So this is a good idea maybe for like a re-engagement. If the user hasn't opened the app in over, 3 weeks or over a month, well, maybe I want to send them this automated message like every 7 days or, every, 2 weeks kind of thing. Okay. Save it as a draft or make it live and active and it'll start sending. A couple other things to highlight here. So that's messaging. A couple other things to highlight under the settings. You can track your update your analytics stats within the settings analytics page. Notification history endpoint, you can activate that, or if you want to use that endpoint. If you're using Google Analytics or Firebase, you can activate that here. If you're using Mixpanel here, and then just some information on our Zapier integration. Outcomes. So we talked about outcomes kind of very briefly. Outcomes are a way to track if your users are doing what you want them to do when they click a notification. Now, if they don't click the notification, but they receive the notification, you can also track influence. So basically they receive the notification, and then within 24 hours, 1 hour, or 15 minutes, I can set this, this window of time that if the user gets the notification, they don't click it, but they go into my app or website and they perform that outcome, we can then call that outcome as being influenced by the notification. Okay. And then under messaging, here is where you set a couple things like your UTM parameters. So if you want to set up default UTMs, you would set that here. Like source, you can set that to a static, OneSignal, medium being a push, and then campaign. This is that liquid syntax again. These are the only combinations you can do is a send date and title. So if you wanted to, track all my users that were sent a notification at a certain time with a certain notification title, that's what the campaign is here, or you can set a static one, that's fine as well. And if you're using UTM parameters and you want these default values, great, that's what they're there for. But if you also wanted to maybe use custom UTM parameters for a specific notification, totally fine. Any UTMs that you use in the notification will actually override whatever you set here, so you don't have to worry about that. Throttling, this is where you set those throttling settings. I'm going to turn this off. Frequency capping, I can set my, X number of notifications per hour, day, or week here. So I don't want to send more than, 50 a week. And then your Android categories. So if you have an Android mobile app, I would highly recommend digging into our documentation on what Android categories are and start using them. They're a super useful feature added to Android. I believe Android 8 is when these were introduced by the Android API. And it's just a really great way to give your users control over what kinds of notification categories they're interested in. Keys and IDs, this is where you'll find your OneSignal app ID and REST API key. You can also turn on identity verification here. Identity verification is the ability to basically control the allowance of people setting their external user IDs or emails or SMS by verifying them from your backend before setting that within OneSignal. So pretty cool feature if you're very security minded. You can also disable your app for if any reason you want to make sure your app is not sending push notifications or any types of messages, just click disable app and it will stop sending notifications or any type of message. You can reset your REST API key here. Just click that button and it will reset that. Administrators, this is where you control the devices, or I'm sorry, the users that are allowed to view your app level information. So you can see your organization roles here and then your app level here. I can go in here and I can send an invitation to add them back or just remove them if I don't want them to have access anymore. I can do that. And then I think the last thing I want to highlight real quick is just the platforms. So you'll see this page, the very first thing that you'll do when you log into OneSignal and create your app. This is where you set up your email settings, your SMS settings, your web settings, and then your your mobile or desktop settings. The really cool thing about this page, if you're using web, is that you can basically control all of your web platform prompting options here. So if you're using our typical site setup, under this step here, this is where you add your prompts. So if you're adding the OneSignal subscription bell, you can customize this here on the left, right, small, medium, large, change your colors, change your, change anything about it really. The slide prompt's great. You can add you can customize the words. You can add a delay. So delay this, don't show it until the user's on the third page view and 5 seconds have passed. And you can also add your categories. This is where you would add your tags. So if you want to ask the user, like, are you interested in subscribing to our website? And if so, which categories are you interested in? Well, I'm interested in like world, news, and then, world news. I'm also interested in like tech, and so when a user goes to your site to subscribe, well, I'm not really interested in world news, so I'll click that and I subscribe. Well, it's going to add a tag for tech. All right. So the tag key is what's going to be added as the tag. Okay. And you can add up to 10 categories here. All right. Email slide prompt is there as well. So if you wanted to collect emails and or phone numbers, or maybe just one or the other, you can, do that here. Then you can prompt this whenever you want to ask the user for that information, and that'll create the record within OneSignal. Cool. All right. Well, thank you for your time on this call. It's been a great overview, hopefully, of the platform. Only took an hour, and I will now answer any questions. Cool. I see a couple coming in. Why is email sent in tags? In the demo, there was a tag called email. That's just because it's just a test. You don't have to set the email as a tag, but you can if you want. So again, tags are basically any type of key value pairs of data. It could be whatever you want them to be. We don't accept, like, I mean, you could send arrays. Like if you wanted to tag a user with a key and then a value of like an array or an object, I mean, you can do that, but it's not going to be any helpful to you. We don't recommend doing it at all. It's like whatever you send to us, we'll set it as a tag, but really, like, you get the most benefit if you structure those tags as just a key and a value. And so we have this like email tag here. You don't have to do anything, like that's not something you have to do. It's just something that if you wanted to do, it's there. And then another question, how do I add user's name and message? Yeah, so as long as the tag is there, so first name is Billy, when you go into the message, you can actually click on, like, here's an example, really. I clicked on view, let's go to duplicate. And so in this case, I have product name, but if I wanted to use like first name, I mean, that wouldn't make sense in this message, but I could say right here, I could say first name. And so this could say, John, you've abandoned your cart. Oh no. But if that first name tag is not set, it'll just say you've abandoned your cart. You won't even see this. So I also have tag substitution here for product name. So I'm tagging the user with the name of the product that they last added to their cart. I'm also tagging them with the URL to the image. So when they click an item to add to the cart, I'm tagging that URL image, that HTTPS URL resource as a tag, and I can actually add that image here using tag substitution. Okay. Great. Well, thanks for your time, everybody. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. You can always reach our support team down here using the little intercom button. Feel free to send us a message, tell us how we're doing, give us any feature requests, bug reports, just product questions, anything at all. Feel free to reach out to us here. You can also email us at support@onesignal.com. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time and have a great rest of your day.